Well, good morning, everyone. Sorry, I got sidetracked here this morning. The market is very peculiar here this morning. I've been trying to figure out what exactly is going on. And yeah, Floyd says crazy Friday. I'm done from the open. What I didn't, what I'm not sure about is here on the Geiger counter. The Geiger counter has just been stuck. It's just nuts here on the short side. And yesterday's session, relatively bullish overall, except for the last 15, 20, 30 minutes of the day when the bottom fell out of the market and the overnight kind of continued lower. But we're seeing some very, very wild swings. And I thought, well, there's something wrong with the Geiger counter because when do you see 700 orders to sell and no orders to buy? And you know the funny thing is, when the market is like this, if this is true, and I'm going to pull up the dome here in a second, you could go ahead, you could hit your short order, and you'll probably get filled. Oh, I don't know, down here around 67.80. So if you're going to take any orders today, make sure you're running your stop limit because otherwise the slippage will be insane. So I'm going to set like a 2-tick slip and I'm going to pull out the dome as soon as I can find it. And I think I need the static dome. I keep forgetting which one's which. Okay, so here's the all right. I opened the wrong one. Let's get the static. Okay, we'll see here if, oh, it won't load. Okay, there it is. Where are all the orders? Is anyone else running the Geiger counter? Do you have this problem as well? Hey, Antonio, welcome. Antonio says, I'm a new Raptor owner. Don't be shy about asking questions. I'm having a little technical difficulty this morning, though, or so it seems. All right, Mark says he's running his and it's working, so I'm going to try to refresh my my Ninja script. So if you suspect something is going on, there's a couple things you can do. You can try to reload your Ninja script. That's going to have more to do with your uh, trade manager, but we'll do it anyhow. Nope, still stuck. And the other thing you can do is you can reload your historical data. And this is going to take a little while. Yeah, Mike says it must be my data feed. I may have to, if it doesn't smarten up here, I'm going to have to reboot my NinjaTrader, which I know is a pain. Hopefully the reloading the data will cure it. Doesn't happen often, but every once in a while you get this little bit of a glitch. And it's normally a simple fix. If it's not responding, you just, well, you reboot your Ninja. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to have to reboot it. I'm not getting any buyers, and yet the market's going up. So that is peculiar. It's probably something in the cache in the computer's memory giving me a little bit of grief. Just wait for that last chart to load. Okay. All right, folks, you'll have to excuse me because I'm going to reboot my NinjaTrader here. All right, so let's shut it all down and boot it back up. This usually fixes whatever has been the problem. Mark says he's had a couple pre-market late filter entries and I'm almost done. As long as they keep working, I'm good. Lots of volatility though this morning. Yeah, Mark says moves so fast that NinjaTrader froze momentarily. I hate it when that happens, unless of course it's moving in your direction. Yeah, okay, Antonio, I'll give you a hand here in a second. Antonio says my charts look off. I've got a brick size of 10 ticks on the euro US dollar. I'll show you how you can customize your charts relative to your market. Because what may end up happening is you may find that the default settings for the euro US pair may be a little bit too tight. You may be getting too many signals. Okay, looks like that solved the issue. Just got to wait for the last chart to load. There we go. Wow, they're laboring here this morning. My computer is. Come on. Too much for my poor computer to do. All right, just 1 second. All right. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my other charts to update. So let's review here how you can adjust your brick size. Typically, the default settings, we have an 8-tick brick, and you do that by right-clicking on your chart and you go to your data series. This is where you can adjust your brick size. Now, depending on what your brick size is, you may need to adjust your Raptor. Because if I make this Raptor, say 20 ticks, it's going to shrink up my band. It's going to be really, really tight. Therefore, I need to go now to the indicators and I'll need to make changes to my Raptor. Now, this is going to be true whether you're expanding the brick size or reducing it. You're going to go here to your Raptor 2.0. And you'll want to make a quick note about the relationship between your brick size, and your clouds, as well as your hawk bar. So here's the rough relationship. Your first cloud, the slower cloud, is 1.5 times your brick size. So you can take 8 and go 8 times 1.5. Your fast cloud, the second cloud, the brick size is equal to whatever the chart brick size is. The hawk bar is 3/4 of the brick size. So you would go 8 times 0.75, and that would give you your hawk size. So let's say you changed it to 20, and incidentally, Antonio, 20 was a value that I was experimenting with a little bit on the euro-US dollar pair. That would make your slower cloud 30 ticks, which is 20 times 1.5. Your second cloud would be 20 ticks, which would be the equivalent of your brick size. Your hawk bars would be 15 ticks, which would be 3/4. Here, let me actually demonstrate. So give me a second here. I'm going to load the euro-US pair. Boy, there's so much activity in the market. The charts are taking forever to load. You can see my charts are frozen as there we go. We finally got the euro-US dollar pair. Okay. Here's the euro-US pair. Now, when I load a new chart, what I look for is I look to see how many signals I'm getting and are the signals following through. So I'm going to look at the timestamp, and I'm also going to look at how many signals I'm getting within this session. So if I'm trading the euro-US dollar pair, I'm probably looking to trade it more through the overnight, and you can see we just got a lot of activity, but the volatility, of course, across the board is up all over the place. Now, just glancing at these signals, it looks like most of them are pretty valid signals. It's not to say that every signal has to work out, but I do like to see the vast majority of signals working out. So here's a number 2 signal, had some very good follow through. Here's a couple of buy signals, but again, because it's counter trend, you'd probably be a little bit suspect. But at any rate, even if those failed, the with trend signals working out very, very well. Okay, so now what you need to do is you need to consider your timestamp. Are these signals developing within a reasonable amount of time? In other words, do you have time to actually analyze what's going on and make a decision about your trade? You don't want to see 220, 220, 30, 220, 45. You don't want to see the timestamp breaking up into seconds, because the bars will just be unfolding too quickly. You won't have a chance to make a decision. So it looks like from this signal down to this signal, you had about 8-9 minutes. That's not bad. Again, volatility is up. So right now, actually, it looks like perhaps the default settings are working pretty well with this market. If you feel you're getting too many signals, what you will do is you will increase your brick size. So you go to your data series, and now you can start to play with it. So, a lot of currencies like to work off tens. So maybe we'll change the brick size to 10. And honestly, you just experiment. The defaults are always a good starting point. And now we go to our indicators and we find our Raptor. So if I have a 10 tick brick, I'll want to make that 15. I want to make this 10. Now it's 7.5, so the choice is yours. You can make it 7 or you can make it 8. And what you've done by increasing the brick size is you've actually reduced a few of the signals. So the larger your brick size, the fewer signals you will get, which is not always a bad way to go. I know Ray Burke always used to have the same chart on a couple of different brick sizes. So he would run the default chart and then he may have a 20 tick chart as well. But again, what you want to do is you want to go through your chart. See, you don't want to see this. See here, the timestamp, and it's okay if it happens occasionally, but you don't want to see it every single day or several times throughout your chart. Again, volatility is up here for some reason today. So here we have the 530 stamp. So you see all these bars from here right through to here, all those bars developed within the space of a minute. That is too fast. You will not be able to make a decision when the bars are unfolding that quickly. So if that happened a lot, I would increase the brick size even more. But it's 5:30. That's kind of when you get some pre-market reports about an hour before the North American Open. And so that's not unusual to see that at that time. So what I'm doing is I'm just scrolling through now. I'm comparing the timestamp to the signals. Are we getting some follow through? Would these have been manageable trades? And, for the most part, it looks pretty good. Anthony's asking, show me your default. Well, the default is what would come with the Raptor. So I would have the 8 tick, and then I would have the 12, the 8, and the 6 on the Raptor. All right, so Anthony says I usually trade the 3-minute chart, so it wouldn't be unusual to see more data flow by. So here are my defaults are the defaults that come with the software. People are always asking me, Eric, what are your settings for such and such a market? And I really should just have a template that I send back to people because honestly, 99% of the time I use the default settings. The only market, which is the exception, is the E-mini S&P. And that's because normally the E-mini S&P, because it's 1250 a tick, doesn't produce enough data through the day, and your chart starts to look like this. You know, these are your daybreak lines, and you can't open up your chart and say, well, how am I going to day trade this market? I'm not getting enough data. So that's what happens, or tends to happen, with the E-mini, but the volatility has been so high recently that even the E-mini will work just fine on the default settings. So the defaults are always the go-to. The defaults are always the starting point. And if you're looking at your chart and you say, oh, no, there's far too many signals here, I can't make a decision, then go ahead, start to experiment. Let's, dial it up. Or run two charts. Run a faster chart, your regular default chart, and then run a slower chart in conjunction with it so that you can see what's going on. You see what happens when I make the brick size larger? You see how it really squishes up the band? Notice you're only getting number 1 signals. Actually, there's a number 3 signal there, but so now once again we go to our Raptor and we make the appropriate changes. So if I have a 20 tick brick, that will be 30, this will be 20, and this will be 15. Trading is such a personal endeavor. You have to really find what's working for you. I can show you how I do things, but ultimately you have to find what works for you. All right, so now I've dialed it up to a much larger brick size. Oh, I forgot to adjust the filter. You'll want to adjust your filter as well. It will be the same as your brick size. And so I take a look at these signals and all right, the timestamps look good. Signals are not developing too quickly. There's a very nice signal, exceptional follow through. Here's a nice signal, very good follow through. Here's a good signal, nice follow through. Here's a signal that did not follow through, but that's not the end of the world, because what you want is you want the signal, again, this close to the high. We probably would have taken the second push entry, but even if we didn't, was there some opportunity in here to manage my stop? So my initial stop probably would have been down here. And as the market flinched and turned, yes, I probably could have rolled my stop right there. The signal still failed, but it was what I would refer to as a good loss. Yes, the signal did not work out, but I still did everything correctly. Okay, so this was here, right around here, we have the London Open. And it looks like the signals are printing pretty well as a whole. Yeah, it looks like we're getting some decent follow through. This is why I seem to remember playing with the Euro-US dollar pair and kind of settling on a 20 tick brick. You get fewer signals, of course, but it does look as though we're getting some decent follow through. All right, well, that was one way to avoid trading opening range. And what a roller coaster this morning. Wow. Look at these blocks going through the market. That's just crazy. And here my charts are locking up again. What is going on here this morning? Got a little issue with the data. Somebody's stepping on my internet connection. Really? Come on. Alrighty then. Well, looks like we're very much in a tailspin right now. Good for you if you're already short. What a roller coaster though. The market making a strong rally only to reverse on itself. Well, if my charts were behaving, this could have been a four-figure day here today. Here we go. We're locking up again. I think my computer says I've had enough work this week. It seems to be working more better. Okay, look at these spikes. My goodness, just these isolated islands of buying and selling. They're fairly evenly balanced, but just the amount of volume going through here. Well, if the buyers thought they were going to control the market this morning, I think the sellers have just taken them to the woodshed. My goodness, things really unfolding quickly here. I don't know if if this keeps up, I don't know if I can get a trade going this morning. This is just nuts. Okay, well, we are back into the hard edge, so we would anticipate a number 3 signal to develop. So much for shorting it again. So it looks as though we're bouncing off of the lows of the morning, or the lows of, yeah, I guess the lows of the morning. And what, we're going to try to head higher now. Oh, here we go. Somebody's blocking my internet again. When the market is this volatile, when it uh, ignore for a moment my connection problems that I'm having. It goes without saying, if you're having connection problems, you shouldn't be trading today until your connection problems are resolved. But when the market is this volatile and you're having a hard time making sense of it all, sometimes you're better off just avoiding it entirely. Now, as strong as the downtrend is here, I think I would just entertain selling. If we get a little bit of a pullback here, there's my sell signal. I think I would just attempt a short any old place. The problem with the market right now, I don't think so much is the direction as trying to manage your trade. So where are my next support and resistance lines? Come on. So we have one 67.69. Oh, I'm going to get tagged out here in a second. 67.69. There we go. We're going to have a little bit of a wedge type thing going on. You can already see some buying support as the market gets closer to the bottom end. Come on. Get below 67.98 and I think we'll see a little bit of a move. You can do it. A near perfect triangle. It looks like they're going to take it right to the apex. Okay, Mike is asking some questions here about the Raptor components. The Raptor, as I mentioned before, is a hybrid. It's actually a blend of the Hawk, the Falcon, the Eagle, all smushed into one trading platform. So we've incorporated elements of the three birds all into the one system. And Mike's asking about the specific parts. Well, obviously the Eagle, we borrowed the clouds from the Eagle, as well as the filter. So the Eagle Trend Trader pretty much programmed here into the filter. The primary signal generation is the Falcon, but that doesn't mean it's the exclusive signal generation. It also takes elements of the Hawk in regards to how the bars are printing. So we've got, you'll notice here on the Hawk, how the bars are going red and yellow and green. You'll get the same kind of activity here on the Raptor. So in essence, you can follow a first micro macro cross on the Raptor. You can see macro pullbacks on the Raptor, but very often they are going to coincide with one of your high probability signals anyhow. So even though the Raptor borrows from the other tools, each of the programs work independent of the other. This was something that people never quite, well, they got it, but this is not a system where your Hawk is a 5-minute chart, your Falcon is a 15-minute chart, and your Eagle is an hourly chart. That's not it. Those are all based on the same common denominator, namely time. The Hawk is programmed specifically for scalp signals, the Falcon specifically for swing signals, the Eagle specifically for trend signals. The Raptor takes some of those elements and combines them all into one. Generally, what that means is the Raptor will tend to try to give you quality of signals over quantity of signals. And the Raptor will also produce some of its own. Like right here, we're producing a counter trend signal. We are not getting any kind of counter trend signal on the Falcon, but we're getting a counter trend signal on the Eagle. So you see there's how some of the Eagle elements have slipped into the Raptor programming. No, you're welcome, Mike. And it's a good question. You guys, when you have questions like this, you should ask them. That's what I'm here for. Okay, well, here we go again. We're got a bit of a sideways congestion going. Yeah, Phil says, when I was having problems with high volatility and erratic data, I found one indicator other than indicator warehouse indicators was causing the problem. I think what my system needs is I just need to reboot it again, but I'm not going to do that right now. It seems to be behaving itself, maybe. Okay, so here we go with the big rally. And like I said, I'm not sure I'm really going to get any kind of trade going today until things settle down a little bit. All right, back now to the hard edge. Let's see. I need a broader perspective. Oh, yuck. I was gonna say maybe I'll try a buy off of the hard edge. But what a mess. What a terribly ugly chart. Maybe the daily chart will offer more insight. No, not really. The daily looks very calm, doesn't it? Well, actually, the daily may be looking a little bit more bullish given that tail that we're seeing. All right. Oh, there was my hard edge bounce. I missed that one. We'll hold out for another one here, see if we can get the market to behave a little. All right, things calming down here a little bit. And we may get an opportunity. Wow, just when you think things are settling in a little bit, here they go again. This is a similar situation to what we had the other day, where you need to decide for yourself whether the market is in an uptrend or in a downtrend. If it's in a downtrend, you're just going to be looking to pick up on any short signal, even what appears to be a counter trend signal. If you consider the bigger trend to be down, then this is actually a with trend signal, isn't it? Here now we have the number one signal. Can I cover it? No, I can't. Look at those ranges. They're just wild. Can I cover it to the hard edge? Just barely. Or if you consider the market to be in an uptrend, then of course the reverse is true. You're going to be looking for opportunities to get long. And right now it's hard to tell because we've seen such, well, I won't show you here on the Raptor, I got to scroll back too far, but we've seen such strong moves higher and lower that it's really hard to get a handle on which way this market is leaning. We're also stuck here on the median line. And just for giggles, let's see if we can get it down to the back toward the low of the morning. No, they're not going to do it. Just a little bit too much. Too much bouncing around, too much volatility. Good question here. Mike asks, given the volatility on your NASDAQ chart is getting two signals at 726, would you consider changing the settings? No. Now, you see how I mentioned before here, I'll shrink up the chart so you can see the seconds displaying. If this were on the big chart, and I'm getting all these signals, all these bars over a matter of seconds, and it was an abnormality. In other words, it wasn't like this every day. I would just not trade today because there's something not right in the market. But even though, we had these signals develop here within the space of a minute, the number two signal, the number three signal, I'm not one for constantly adjusting my charts. The reason is that's kind of a rabbit hole that you can go down and you really never emerge from. You don't want, the objective here is not to, tweak your chart so that it's perfect. Your charts will never be perfect. But if it was a situation where this was going on every day, then yes, I would have to make some changes. But if it's only for today, then I'm not so concerned about it. And I hope that makes sense. All right, so it looks like here I was a little bit unfortunate, got tagged on a little bit of pushback, and we did have another number 3 signal. The thing with the 232 signal, there's also the reverse. There's the 323 signal, which is also a very strong continuation signal. All right, here we go. Bouncing back and forth again. Well, we're getting, like I said, we're getting decent moves higher and lower. It's just, it's just deciding where we're going to get in. All right, so we've got a possible 232 type setup here, which would confirm a reverse. How big is the band? Oh, the band's only about 34 ticks. It's not all that broad. But momentum does seem to be slowing. So here now, my 232 signal. Oh, they're going to run away on me. Let's see if I get a second push. No. Well, had the right idea. Just a little got left behind. How many times have we hit the low of the morning here? This has got to be like this, well, at least the second, maybe the third or fourth time the buyers seem to be supporting this zone, it opens up the possibility of these lows holding and maybe, just maybe, a rally. See, that's one way to make the market come down, is just talk about a rally. All right. We're working an early cloud crossover signal here. That's the early number one. No, not yet. Doggone it, folks. There's just so much back and forth going on here right now. Mickey's asking, Eric, is your office trading setup based on a laptop or a desktop? I'm using a desktop computer. It's nothing fancy. It's I think I picked it up at Best Buy about 5-6 years ago. It does have a fast processor. It has a Pentium 7 processor, and I've got the fastest video card available. I've got 3 monitors, two 21s and a 24. And 2 of my monitors have got the markets, and then the third one has got the room software. Part of the reason for developing the Raptor was because a lot of people are trading off of laptops, and they just didn't have the screen real estate for running multiple charts. And there's a lot to be said, I think, for the simplicity of just following one chart. You're going even if you have the DTS system, you're going to end up with your favorite. People always ask me which one is my favorite, and my own personal opinion is the Hawk. That's my favorite. If you ask Mark, I think he would tell you the Falcon. And if you ask Ray Burke or Scott, they would probably tell you the Eagle. Dan asks, is there a way to show a line for the US Open like we have for the Daily Open? Yes, I think it's actually just part of the standard. Here, we'll go up here. I'll show you here. It's part of your standard indicators. Where is it? I think it's daily. Oh, current day open, high, low. If you apply that to your chart, I think originally the DTS and Raptor were loaded with these, with the current day open, high, low. And they may have taken them off because of me. Okay, so there's the open of the morning. There's the current day's high, and there's the current day's low. And of course, you can change the line colors to suit. So the open this morning's open 68.17.5. All right, well, I'm probably not going to get much of a trade going here today. Kind of been stuck on my back foot most of the time. Well, no shortage of volatility, that is for sure. Mike, you don't need to apologize for asking the questions. That's what I'm here for. My day's kind of gone sideways anyhow, so ask away. So Mike's asking, where are the settings for the vertical color bars under the 1, 2, 3 signals? Plus your NASDAQ chart has the Raptor filter set at 10 for an 8 mean Renko setting. Is this because you want a quicker filter than the standard setting of 12? Okay, let me do well, they're both easy. But let me address the filter question first. No. What happened with the filter is a long time ago, I was demonstrating something on the filter and I changed it to 10 because somebody was asking me something and I keep forgetting to change it back. Honestly, though, 2 ticks one way or the other is really not going to matter that much. If I dialed the filter up to say 20 or 30, then it would show some significant differences. But if you compared this 12 tick to the 10 tick, it's practically identical. So I've never really worried about it. Your background highlights, you go here to your Raptor 2.0, highlight that. Go to the very bottom, and here are your background highlights, background opacity. So the lower this value, the more transparent they will become. You can see you can turn them to 0 to turn them off, or you can max them out at 10. Okay, great question here from Antonio. Antonio asks, Eric, do you have a video explaining the Raptor system in detail, the dots, triangles, hard edge, soft edge, which line is the hard edge, etc.? Okay, you know what? We have a few minutes. Why don't I go over it for you right now? But I will also show you where you can reference it on your own. And I'm sorry I have not brought these forward yet. But if you go to YouTube and you search Indicator Warehouse, and you'll probably want to subscribe just so you have it. Make a note of the dates, August the 2nd and August the 13th. So if you click here on videos and you scroll here, you'll find here's the August 13th video and here's the August 2nd video. I'm going to have these edited and actually categorized under the Raptor. I just haven't had time for it. The August 2nd video will go over everything on the Raptor in great detail because it was a very, very slow day and we just took the time. The August 13 video will also show you some other considerations in regards to taking a trade. Now, I do believe, even though these videos are an hour and a half long, I do believe that I addressed those things relatively early in the video. Nice thing about the playback is that you can also fast forward it. Okay, but we've got the time. My day is pretty much shot. So let's take a moment here and go over everything. First, let me describe the trading bands to you. The trading bands are from the Eagle Trend Trader, and as you can see on the Raptor, we have 2 bands instead of 1. This bright edge is what we refer to as the hard edge. The other side is the soft edge. I don't normally pay too much attention to this one right here. I've had people ask me about it. Honestly, I haven't seen any value to following that, but certainly if somebody finds some value in monitoring that soft edge and you choose to share it, I would appreciate it. When the soft edge is below the hard edge or hard edges, we're looking for sell signals. We consider the market to be bearish at that point. When the soft edge, oh gosh, I got to go back here is the way. When the soft edge is above the hard edges, we consider the market to be bullish and we're going to be looking more for buy signals. The hard edge is significant because when the market encounters the hard edge, we anticipate a reaction. We don't always know whether it's going to be a big reaction or a little reaction, but we do know the market is very likely to make a reaction at the hard edge. Both the first hard edge and the second hard edge, the market will respond. So here you can see are a couple of examples where the market actually got a little bit below the hard edge, but it still responded. The Raptor signals, like all the DTS signals, develop in 2 phases. When approximately half of the trading algorithm parameters are met, you're going to get a warning dot along with an audio alert. This is alerting you to the possibility of a trade developing. When all the signal parameters have been met, you're going to get a triangle along with a hash mark. This tells you that all the trading or all the programming parameters for a signal have been met and it's time to make a decision. Depending on how the market is behaving, sometimes you'll see the warning dot, the triangle hash mark all print on the same bar. Sometimes you'll see the warning dot disappear as the signal develops and you'll get a triangle hash mark. That's normal. Don't worry about it, but just know that the warning dot tells you that it's an alert that there's a trade possibly developing. And when you have the triangle hash mark, that tells you that all the programming parameters have been met. The hash mark is merely a suggested entry. it doesn't mean that you have to enter at that price. Very often you'll see me, if I'm unsure of how the market is behaving, I'll try the second push entry, in which case I'll just ignore the hash mark entirely. I'll let the signal print, see if the market reacts, and then use that reactionary bar as my signal bar. The Raptor also prints, apart from what we refer to as the discretionary signals, which are just all these other signals here, it also prints the high probability signals. These are alerts. These are here to alert you to the possibility of a trade or of a high probability trade. It's still to your advantage to know how the signals develop. Then let me see if I can find you a really pretty number one signal. Okay, this one didn't have any follow through to it, but it's still a very nice number one signal. The number one, oh, this one's pretty good too. The number one signal we call the cloud crossover signal. It's because the clouds change direction. So here we have bearish clouds, and now the clouds cross and they become bullish. Right? Here we have bullish clouds, the clouds cross, and now they become bearish. So for a number one signal to print, we need two components. First, we need the clouds to cross, and then we need to have a pullback. Now, normally the pullback is a little bit more pronounced, like this one is. This was very, very slight, but it was a pullback nonetheless, and it was enough to trip a signal. So you get the clouds crossing, you get a pullback, and then the market comes back and the signal parameters are met. That is a number one signal. So when you start to see your clouds crossing, you should start to anticipate the development of a number one signal. You've probably heard me refer to as the early number one signal from time to time. This would be an early number one signal because I'm already watching the clouds cross, but they're not fully crossed, and yet they're crossing. I've got a pullback, and now I've got a buy signal. If I think the market is going to continue higher for whatever reason, then I may choose to try to get in early. That's my early number one signal. Otherwise, I will wait for the proper number one signal to print after the clouds are fully crossed over. The number two signal is your counter trend signal. The number two signal has to have two elements to it. First, it has to have something resembling a trend, right? It can't be counter trend if there is no trend preceding it. Then you have to have what we call a test of the extreme. In this case, the extreme is the low, and you need some sort of evidence that the market is trying to resume the original trend, but unsuccessful. At which time it will reverse, and if all the programming parameters are met, it will produce a number two signal. As a rule of thumb, the hard edge, the second hard edge, is your target for your number two signal. As a rule of thumb, your better number two signals are going to come in a 2-3-2 type setup. I think we had one up here somewhere. Here we go. Well, here we go. Okay, this one's practically textbook. So we have a trend. We have a counter trend signal. But here was our test of the extreme, this tiny little thing right there. So we go into the hard edge, we come out, we produce a number three signal, And then we come back with another number 2 signal. Out of these 2 reversal signals, this is the one you would want to try. This 2-3-2 type formation has a higher probability of success as the market has demonstrated it's essentially a double or triple bottom. So the market has demonstrated a willingness to hold the support level, after which it's probably going to try to move a little bit higher. The number 3 signal is a continuation signal. It is the hard edge bounce, and it can occur off of the faster cloud or the slower cloud. Essentially, the market's going to retreat into the cloud, it's going to come out, and if the programming parameters are met, it will produce a number 3 signal. Now, the thing you're going to find with the number 3 signal, apart from the fact that you're opening yourself up to the possibility of a 2-3-2 type reverse, is very often with the number 3 signal, you want to take your logistics into account. Because the market may reverse off of this swing low down here, or this swing low down here, you would like to have more room than less room. Right? This trade here, if it went sideways, this number 3 signal here offers you more trade management opportunities, right? So let's say the market comes down like this and now starts to reverse. Well, if you haven't already hit your profit objective, you do have the option of perhaps bringing your trade to break even, or maybe even, bringing it in above this bar. You have the ability to do something with your trade. This signal down here, however, given its proximity to the lows, if it comes down, well, it did come down and start to reverse. You don't have as much opportunity. Actually, this one turned out not too badly. You did have a chance at least to reduce your risk by half and maybe even get it down to a break even. But I think you get my point that the number 3 signal that has a little bit more room to it is probably going to be the more favorable one to attempt. Remember, when we're trading, we're not looking necessarily to capitalize on every single signal. That's not our objective. Our objective is to cherry pick, if you will, the best opportunities. And the best opportunities will become more obvious as you use the system more. Like right now, when you're just starting up, they're all going to look the same to you. An easy way to become more proficient is just to grab your chart and scroll it back and then play the right edge. Okay, here's a number 1 signal. Do I want to take this number 1 signal? If I do, how will I set it up? Do I want to wait for a second push opportunity? Will I take it on the hash mark? Where will I cover the trade? Is this a reasonable signal given the context? The market looks very, very sideways. Is this perhaps a signal I should pass on? And then once you make your decision, go ahead and follow it through and do it just as though you were doing it with real money. Say, okay, at this point, I'm going to roll my stop here, or I'm going to bring my stops down more aggressively. And this is how you learn. Let's say you choose to bring your stops down more aggressively and the market reverses and stops you out. Then play it forward a little bit and see, was that a good decision or a bad decision? Well, in this case, it looks like it was a good decision. And you can tell yourself, okay, why was that a good decision? Okay, the context. The whole left side of the chart looked very, very sideways. So note to self, if the market looks sideways, be more aggressive with your stops. All right, and that's, if you do that and you put a little bit of thought into it, it really won't take you very long to become very proficient with your system. The other thing I encourage you to do is to keep a trading journal. This can just be a handwritten journal. You can use the Trader View journal. Even if you use a Trader View journal, I think it's a good idea to keep a handwritten journal. And the idea here is that you're going to not just record the parameters of the trade, your entry, your exit, your profit or loss, but more importantly, the reasons for taking the trade. You should always have two reasons for taking a trade. If you can articulate two reasons or write them down, if you can write down two reasons for taking a trade, you're probably going to be okay. So, if we're looking here, see the clouds are crossing. So what am I going to anticipate now? I'm going to wait for the number one signal. See, I've got the warning dots. I know a number one signal might be developing. There it is. So let's say I choose to take this trade. What are my reasons for taking the trade? Well, I think a bottom is in, and I believe the overall trend to be up, or whatever, right? Whatever your reasons are. And that, like I say, so long as you can come up with two reasons for taking a trade, you'll probably stay on the right side of the market more often than not. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And if you're going to trade the remainder of the day here, well, I don't know. I haven't really had a good eye on the market today, but I think the bears are pretty much in control here today, aren't they? So you're probably going to be better off staying to the short side. All right, everyone, have yourselves a great weekend. I will talk to you again on Monday. We'll see you then. Bye for now.